Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a pretty bold claim, one that comes from a couple of articles published by Open Christian University. The source material argues that a lot of the social changes we're seeing aren't just happening by chance. Instead, they're part of a detailed strategy, supposedly drawn up decades ago, with the goal of completely reshaping modern faith. So let's unpack what that argument is all about.
So here's the question at the very heart of this. Is there some kind of deliberate, secret plan out there actively working to tear down traditional faith? Well, the articles we're looking at today argue that the answer is a definite yes. And they don't just leave it there, they point to a very specific document and a very specific architect as the source of it all.
All right, to really get a handle on this, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the alleged plan itself. Then we'll get into the person they claim is behind it all. After that, we'll explore the specific tactics the author says are aimed at the family, then at our broader society, and finally, we'll look at what the author believes is the ultimate endgame.
So what is this supposed plan exactly? According to the source material we're examining, this isn't just some vague concept. It actually has a name and a very clear purpose.
It's called the 10-Point Charter. Now, the author describes this as a key strategy of the New Age movement, and they attribute it to a woman named Alice Bailey. The goal, as the source tells it, is huge: to eventually dismantle Christianity and clear the way for a single world religion, all as part of a so-called New World Order.
To really understand the plan, the author says we have to understand the person they claim created it. So let's take a look at the background they provide on Alice Bailey. Okay, so Alice Bailey. She was born into a wealthy British family back in 1880. The articles point to a few really pivotal moments in her life. First, when she was 15, she claimed a mysterious man appeared to her and told her to prepare for some important life's work. Then, in 1917, she joined the Theosophical Society, an esoteric group. And just a few years later, in 1922, she founded her own organization, the Lucis Trust.
And here's a really big claim the author makes. They say that Alice Bailey is the person who actually coined the term New Age. The source says she did this across 24 books she claimed were telepathically dictated to her by a spiritual guide she called the Tibetan or Jwal Khul.
The author uses quotes just like this one as what they see as direct evidence of Bailey's influence. You know, when she talks about a special group inside the United Nations holding the destiny of humanity, the source interprets that as proof that her vision was designed to work through major global institutions.
Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the plan itself. The author breaks down this supposed 10-point charter into a few key areas. And the very first one, they say, focuses on deliberately targeting the family, and even more specifically, the children.
The first point, according to the author, is to get God and prayer completely out of the education system. The thinking here, as they present it, is that if you teach kids that God isn't really necessary for life, they'll grow up to believe it. And as a counter, the author points to Colossians, which warns believers not to be taken in by hollow and deceptive philosophy.
So from the classroom, the argument goes, the focus shifts right into the home. The second point presented is all about chipping away at parental authority. The source claims that promoting things like children's rights, citing documents like the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, is a way to drive a wedge between parents and kids, stopping those Christian values from being passed down. This is put in direct contrast with Proverbs 22:6, which of course emphasizes the parent's duty to train a child.
Now, this next point is one the author really focuses on, the move to abolish corporal punishment. The source presents this as a central tactic for weakening parental authority. They use this very direct quote from Proverbs to argue that the Bible gives a clear mandate for physical discipline, seeing it as a vital tool for a child's moral development.
All right, so moving from the family unit out into the wider culture, the next set of points in this alleged charter, according to the author, are all about reshaping our society's morals and values on a much bigger scale.
The author claims the next goal is to destroy the traditional Christian family structure itself. They argue that promoting sexual promiscuity and keeping families so busy with worldly things that they don't have time for each other, these are strategies to break the family apart. The counterpoint they offer is the model from Ephesians, which lays out very distinct roles for family members.
Next on the list, the source says that in order to support this new culture of free sex, the plan required making abortion legal and easily accessible. They frame it not as reproductive choice, but as a form of population control. The scriptural counter here comes from Jeremiah, which affirms that an unborn child is known by God and has a purpose from the very beginning.
And it doesn't stop there. In that same vein, the author argues the plan aims to make divorce easy and legal, to free people from the idea of a lifelong commitment. They even point to things like prenuptial agreements as a symptom of this sinking. The direct counterpoint is from the book of Malachi, stating simply that God hates divorce, framing marriage as a sacred covenant.
The source continues, claiming another goal is to normalize homosexuality, presenting it as just another alternative lifestyle. The argument is that governments and even churches are being pressured to accept and endorse it, which directly challenges what the author presents as the clear and unchanging biblical stance found in Leviticus.
The author wraps up this section with two final strategies that are focused on culture. First, they say the plan involves debasing art, making it ugly or insane to corrupt people's imagination. Second, and this is a big one, is the use of media. The articles claim that TV, movies, and the press are the most powerful tools for changing mindsets, which, from their perspective, means believers need to be incredibly discerning.
Okay, so after laying out all of these individual points, from schools to the family to art and media, you have to ask, what's the end game? According to the author, where is all of this supposed to be heading?
Well, the author outlines what they see as a four-step path. It starts with an interfaith movement that says all religions are basically equal paths to God. From there, governments start passing laws that reflect these new universal values. Then, the pressure is put on the church to get on board and endorse these changes. And the final step, the establishment of a single world religion, which the author links directly to the prophecies about the Antichrist. And to really drive their point home, the author concludes their entire argument with this verse from Ephesians. It's presented as the key to understanding everything, that these changes in society aren't just cultural trends, but signs of a much deeper spiritual battle against forces that want to reshape our world.
And that wraps up our breakdown of the argument presented in these articles. It definitely leaves us with a big question to think about. How do historical writings and specific theological viewpoints end up shaping how we see and understand the social changes happening all around us today? Thanks for joining this explainer.